A bold and controversial move has just been made. President Trump has signed an executive order officially labeling Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. But here's where it gets complicated. What does this really mean in legal terms, and how will it play out in practice? On Monday, President Trump directed his administration to investigate and disrupt what they describe as any and all illegal activities linked to Antifa members. The order also calls for pursuing individuals who allegedly fund or provide material support to these operations. This action follows Trump's promise last week to classify Antifa as a major terrorist organization, a statement made in the aftermath of the assassination of conservative commentator Charlie Kirk. However, officials have not presented any evidence connecting Kirk's tragic death to Antifa or any left-wing groups. So, what exactly is Antifa? The term is short for anti-fascist, and it generally refers to a loosely connected network of mostly left-leaning activists. Unlike traditional organizations, Antifa lacks a centralized leadership or formal structure, which makes it difficult to pin down as a single entity. Legal experts have pointed out that the U.S. government currently has no statute granting the president the authority to officially designate domestic groups as terrorist organizations or to charge individuals with domestic terrorism based solely on such a designation. The White House fact sheet accompanying the executive order claims that Antifa has a long history of terrorizing our communities. It highlights several incidents involving attacks or threats against law enforcement and pro-Trump events over recent years, some of which were allegedly carried out by individuals identifying with Antifa. The administration also cited the assassination of Charlie Kirk as part of a broader trend of radical left violence. Authorities have noted that Kirk's suspected shooter, Tyler Robinson, had become increasingly political and expressed hostility toward Kirk in text messages, but no direct link to Antifa has been established. Looking back, the Congressional Research Service described Antifa in 2020 as a decentralized movement composed of independent, radical groups and individuals who often embrace ideologies like socialism, communism, or anarchism. There is no unified organizational structure, no single set of beliefs, and no common list of enemies that all Antifa adherents share. University of Pittsburgh professor Michael Kenny emphasized this point, telling CBS News that there is no single organization called Antifa, and that there is tremendous variation inside that movement, even on issues like political violence. The roots of Antifa trace back to the 1980s when activists opposed neo-Nazi and Ku Klux Klan groups. The first group to officially use Antifa in its name emerged in Oregon in 2007. The movement gained national attention about a decade later during violent clashes between far-right groups and their opponents in Charlottesville, Virginia, early in Trump's first term. Trump and his administration have targeted Antifa before. During his first term, Trump repeatedly threatened to crack down on the movement and called for it to be designated a terrorist organization in 2020, though he never followed through. In 2017, then FBI Director Chris Wray told Congress the Bureau was investigating anarchist extremists motivated by Antifa ideology. By 2020, Wray described Antifa more as a movement or an ideology, rather than a formal group. This latest executive order faces significant legal challenges. Unlike foreign terrorist organizations, there is no existing legal framework that allows the president to designate domestic groups as terrorist organizations. Luke Baumgartner, a research fellow at George Washington University's Program on Extremism, explained that while the administration can prioritize Antifa-related incidents for federal law enforcement, the designation itself lacks clear legal authority. Moreover, domestic terrorism is not a standalone federal charge, although many states have their own domestic terrorism laws, and other federal statutes can be applied to related criminal acts. As Baumgartner succinctly put it, you can't prosecute an ideology. This raises important questions. Does labeling Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization help law enforcement, or does it risk conflating a broad, loosely affiliated movement with organized terrorism? Could this executive order set a precedent for how political activism is treated in the future? And how do we balance national security concerns with protecting civil liberties? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you agree with the president's move, or do you see it as a problematic overreach? Join the conversation and share your perspective below.